Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to teach what is exploratory data analysis, that is EDA. So I'll explain in very simple terms. I'll not use definitions or something. So EDA means investigating the data you have. So you get a set of data and you start investigating the data for data analysis. So generally this is the first step in data analysis, that is investigating the data. Now, this practice of EDA comes with a series of steps or a series of processes, but but in no particular order. So, the steps or the process includes discovering the data, structuring the data, cleaning, joining, validating, and presenting the data. This process can be iterative, so it means that after discovering, you start cleaning the data, then you start validating the data. After validating, you find okay, the data is not clean, you again go back to cleaning the data. So it is an iterative process and in no particular order. But these are all the techniques that are followed in EDA. I will explain you this with example. Let's say you have a data set of 1,000 rows, which and that data set includes data for let's say last 2 years. Now you are discovering the data. So you are in the first step. I'll take a marker over here. So you're in the first step of discovering the data. So you're checking out what is the data all about, the content of the data types, the data columns. And while you're discovering the data, you find out it doesn't has data for the current year, that is 2026. Now you need to add more data. Adding more data means you are trying to join data for the current year as well. So now you go to from discovering, you go to joining the data. So you see, now you skipped structuring, you skipped cleaning the data, and you directly went to joining the data because from your logical sense, it said that you need data for the current year as well. So from while discovering, you found out you have missing data and you go to joining. Now you add more data over here. You add the data for the current year, that is 2026. Now you have to validate the data. So you perform some quick checks like spelling mistakes or any error values, error for any dates, missing values, something like that. So after joining, you went to validating the data. After validating the data, you thought, okay, now the data is validated. It is I've checked for spelling mistakes or missing values. Let's structure the data. While structuring the data, the way you can think of structuring the data is like, let's create separate files for each time period. So every year has a new file, so that is structuring the data. So you started with discovering, you went to joining the data. from joining the data from joining the data, you went to validating the data. From validating, you are going to structuring. So now you are going to structuring the data. After structuring the data, you are again going for a validation check. Now you quickly check that all the new files you have created for each year has a correct data set. In case there is any missing date or by chance you move the data of Jan 2025 to the file of Jan 2026, which is again a error, so you start again validating the data. So now after structuring, you move back again to validating the data. So you see how many times the data is getting validated, and it is an iterative process, it is not a one time process. So we started from discovering, we went to joining, then we went to validating. From validating, we went back to structuring the data. After we structure the data into different files, and we thought, okay, let's validate it again. Now after validating the data, you you want to check, look for outliers, missing data, or any data conversions you need. Maybe there is some data in int format and you want it to be in a real data type, that is you want it in decimal format, so that is data cleaning. So after validating, you see, okay, now my data is structured, I want it to be cleaned. So after validating, I know it is getting a little messy, but You are going to cleaning the data. So you look for outliers. So is there some value which is absurd? Like usually you see that the data range for a particular metric lies between, let's say, 20 to 150, and suddenly you find there is this value of 500. So is 500 correct, or was it some other value which was mistyped? You start looking for outliers, missing data, data conversions, for example, into real to end, the date type, date and time formats. So you'll start looking for cleaning the data. After you have cleaned, now you have to again validate. It's like you are double checking it. So after checking, you double check the changes you made, if they are correct or not. So you are looking for accuracy. So again, you go back to validating. From cleaning, you go back to validating, and once you have double checked, you know my data is correct. It is in structured format. It is cleaned. I have added the data for the current year as well. Now it is ready to be presented. So now you share your data with your colleagues, with your manager, with your team. So the after validating, finally you come to presenting the data. So this is EDA. EDA is the first step in data analysis. I'll just repeat or I'll just summarize whatever I've said. EDA is the first process. EDA is a investigation process of data analysis, and it is the first step in data analysis. So when you have to literally discover up about the data, is my data uh, do I have the complete data set? Is my data set incomplete? So you discover the data, you structure the data, maybe structure into different files for different time periods, clean the data, looking for outliers, data type conversions, missing values, then joining the data in case you had some missing data. Now you join data in forms of rows or columns to your current data set. Then validating. Again, I think validating data is the most important step after every process, because if you skip the validating part, you might have to go 2 to 3 steps back and again do all these steps. So validating is the most important check. And then once everything is complete, you are sure that your data set is correct, then you can present your data or the data set to your team. And yeah, that is all about exploratory data analysis. It includes a set of steps, uh, and after following all these steps, or not in any particular order, it can be iterative, it can be repetitive. So at the end of this process, you will get a data set which is absolutely free of errors, and that can be looked forward to. So this was all about exploratory data analysis. So that's all for this video. I hope you got to learn something new. Let me know in the comment section if you have any doubts. I'll be happy to help you. Bye bye.